Alright boys and girls, we are just hours away from Season 12 beginning in Diablo 3 Reaper of Souls, and I want to show y'all how I level up. I think it's one of the quicker and more efficient ways to do so. There are exploitive ways that you can do this, and obviously it varies on whether or not you're doing it solo or in a group. I do it solo all the time. Every now and then I join a group. It just depends how sort of work corresponds with the beginning of the Diablo season. I'm going to be at work when the season begins, so I'm not going to be able to be in a group. Everyone's going to be leveled up and probably already like 70 and doing all sorts of stuff on torment difficulties. So I'm going to show you all how to do it solo. You can also do this in groups, it doesn't matter. What you want to do as soon as you start a new game is go over to your followers and steal their weapon. So as a demon hunter, you definitely want the bow, your scoundrel's bow. If you're a barbarian or a crusader, you'd take the Templar's weapon. If you're a witch doctor or a wizard, you'd take the enchantress's weapon. Reason being is if you have a look, it does a lot more damage than the weapon that we begin with. So it's an instant boost right off the bat. Then we want to go over and just do Nephilim Rifts. I just do Nephilim Rifts. A lot of people go for massacre bonuses in like the Fields of Misery and high density areas. However, I play solo, so Greater Rifts I think is good for me. It helps me gear up really quickly, I've noticed. Whereas if you do high density areas, you level up, you get XP very quickly, but you don't get very good gear. I think gear leads to higher difficulty, and the higher difficulty that you can sustain, the more XP you get anyway. So it kind of equals out in the end regardless. And also density and big packs is also probably more suitable for group play. What we're doing now is trying to get to level 7. Alright, we're nearly there already. And this is solo, so we're at 7 now. What we want to do at 7 is we want to pick up some rings, some plus damage rings. And the way we do that is when you're level 7, you want to find such and such fence. Each camp has a fence vendor. Their name is something and then fence. So what you want to do is find the camp with the correct fence vendor that has the ring icon there, and we can actually get the ring. I think it's a jewelry icon or a trinket icon, something like that it's called. But anyway, let's check out this fence guy. So there's no icon there. There's no trinket icon, unfortunately. So what you want to do is you keep looking through all the other different camps. It's not guaranteed it's going to be in a certain camp. Stupid Diablo 3 is random with all this sort of spawning stuff. So let's go to Bastion's Keep Stronghold Camp. And here's Mr. Fence here. And there's the trinkets icon, and there's our rings. This is what I'm talking about. So this is what we want, plus 2 to 4 damage. Boom, we get both of them. And plus 2 to 4 damage at low level is huge, boys and girls. Absolutely huge. It's going to increase our damage big time. It might not mean much when you're like 70 plus, but at low levels, it's a big increase. Now, you'll also notice, I've just paused the gameplay, that I've increased the difficulty from normal to expert, pretty much just because of those rings. Now, you can gauge where you're at a little bit differently. It depends on the gear and how lucky you were with gear that you've obtained. Sometimes you can get legendaries dropping right off the bat, and they're ultra overpowered, and they make you super powerful early on. That's great. Sometimes you can get some really good rares. That's fantastic too. I've got pretty average gear on this character at the moment, and I can still comfortably play expert regardless. The other thing we definitely want to look out for is Leoric's Crown. Now, I was very lucky here, and I picked up a Leoric's Crown early on. What we want to do with Leoric's Crown is equip it and whack in a ruby gem. Reason being, it increases the experience that we get. Make sure we get the highest ruby gem that we possibly have. Right now I don't have any because I got the crown so early. If you weren't lucky enough to pick up the crown as early as I was, then just kill the Skeleton King at level 20 or higher, and it's a guaranteed drop. The Leoric's Crown will drop from the Skeleton King. Once we get to level 11, boys and girls, we can pick up an amulet. And we do the same sort of thing. We look for the fence vendor. He has that trinket icon, and he will give us our amulet. So let's have a look here on the mini-map. You can also see if you hover over, there's the fence misses fence this time around. So you got your trinkets icon. And then we want the plus 2 to 4 damage once again. We got that now. We equipped that. And now you're ready. You're ready to go on and slay these damn monsters like nothing. From here on in, I basically just stick to Nephilim Rifts non-stop until I get to 70. Obviously, upgrade your gear as you go, depending on your drops. Along the way, right now would be an absolute perfect time. Even at level 7, when you get your rings, you should probably keep upgrading your blacksmith and just upgrade gear there wherever possible. Particularly your weapons. You don't really want to pay too much attention to your gear because it's just a waste of time if you're crafting gear. Just equip what's dropped, but focus on your weapons. If you can craft a really powerful weapon, that's going to help you big time. The other gear, not so much. I wouldn't really, focus on that. It's just time wasting when you could be leveling up your XP and moving up levels, because the gear's just going to become useless. It's rendered useless as soon as you hit 70 anyway. The other thing you want to focus on is, right now the season hasn't begun, so I can't give you an example. And in the right hand corner, you've got your seasonal objectives. Whenever you can do these objectives, I suggest you do them ASAP, because you want to get your full set items. By chapter 4, you'll have your full armor set for that corresponding season. Blizzard mixes it up every season. It's different for each class. I'm not even too sure what the Demon Hunter gets this season. That is the class that I'll be playing, my main class, of course. But when you get to chapter 4, you'll have the full armor set, and that pretty much instantly puts you into Torment 6 difficulty. From there on in, you just got to keep Nephilim rifting, greater rifting, picking up blood shards, upgrading rares, all that sort of stuff to get your perfect items so you can slay those monsters much easier and get to Torment 13 that much quicker. That was my very quick guide for you all. I hope it helps a little bit. If you already knew all this, then I'm sorry, but there's a lot of new players here on my channel that probably didn't know these little hints and tricks, particularly with the rings and the amulet. Keep in mind this is targeted more for solo play. If you're in groups, you can do a similar sort of thing. Maybe just up the difficulty straight away from the beginning, and instead of doing the rifting, you can also just target dense packs like in the Fields of Misery and the Halls of Agony levels 2 and 3. But you do need to focus on chaining together those massacre kills. It can be difficult, particularly early on in the game. If you've got a group of friends, I think the best thing to do would be a combination of bounties and some rifts. Also targeting a lot of high density areas like I mentioned, the Halls of Agony levels 2 and 3, plus Fields of Misery. That, completing bounties, and not actually playing together, but completing bounties separately. This way you get materials and XP all at the same time. There are a few methods. My one is just the most basic and simple, and it is effective. Doesn't get complicated. You're not trying to do any exploits or anything like that. If you guys have any suggestions or you want to share what you do to level up, please let me know in the comments below. Otherwise, I hope some of this was helpful. Happy monster slaying. Not long to go now, boys and girls. I'll see you all in Season 12.